Well, you know, we all have to draw the short straw sometimes.
Not today. Today is the day.
That's mine though. I know. There's no way. Why did we? I told you, we should have noticed. I'm not Hannah. Hannah, you copy all over.
Very first meeting. She spilled coffee and water all over the table.
It was basically water.
You have coffee. I said, let me absorb some of it. Oh, what did it give me?
I'll get these ones. I have some. I don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna do that as well, but I feel like it's such an easy test. Maybe we're gonna end up.
What'd she say?
I don't have a chair.
Aw, that's so sad.
Is Kenlo coming?
He's right there.
Yeah, he's over there.
Wait, Kenlo, are you sitting over there? You are? Okay. I'm gonna steal your seat from your spot.
Oh, you want to
Passing out. What are you passing out? You got Susan. I have the rest of them.
Okay.
Do you want me to give them to you? I want one of those hats.
I have Vivian pass. That's that out. I'll let the kids do it.
There's 3 sets in there.
Here, Mr. Starsky. Sure. Is she to give you one? Let's give it back to her.
Away from my chair. This is. Pass out a set. Pass out a set of these.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. A little different than our February session that was snowed out. Huh? It was very wild. And I remember vividly at the end of the whole thing, it took us about 2 hours, Mr. V and I, to get to everybody. Because we weren't sure if you were all going to read emails, so we had to text, and then we followed up with phone calls. And so, 3 methods of communication. So it became very clear, and my website team said that it became very clear that we need a protocol in case we're changing a meeting at the last minute, or there's an emergency, or something happens. And my website team came up with a great idea that we are going to use that website as a protocol for communications, especially on days like that with bad weather. So I'm excited. They're making great progress on it. When they present it to you, that'll be part of it, along with other things on the website. So more to come on that. Also, something exciting today was I walked in and Matt and Hannah and Megan and a couple of individuals were working on Skype. And starting next session, we'll be able to Skype our meetings. And the importance of that is we have 5 seniors who graduated last year that are off college and who knows where. And there's another 10, 11 of you graduating this year. Congratulations. What should I say? I hope, Mr. Bruder, that there's 10 or 11 graduating this year? No, I'm kidding. But you'll be able to Skype in those sessions. And the importance of that is if you're on a medical path, if you're on an engineering path, if you're on technology, legal, whatever it is, and we happen to be having that session, and that's your career interest, you're going to want to get on Skype, and you're going to want to see that session, okay? So more to come on that too, but that's exciting. That's something new. We have a new video camera that Mr. Bruner's in charge of back there, which we're really excited about. You may not be, but Mr. Bruner and I are. He's sick and tired of taking his old camera down to Channel 3, I think it was, and getting all the sessions converted over to a disc. How about that, huh? Right? A DVD disc. Now he's going to be able to take that little memory card out and we're going to transfer it over, and that's also going to be on our website. So, cool stuff. Before Mrs. Zosky gets up, she's got a couple of important things to cover. I wanted to welcome, I think, our newest member, and that's Eric Walker. Where are you, Eric? There you are, back here. Welcome to our group. Eric's a fine young man. He's going to be a great addition to our group. And with that, we also want to present you with the honorary camp backpack. So all this paper that's being handed out, that's a good place to put it, okay? So without further, Mrs. Zosky, she's got a few things for you.
Hi, happy Sunday. So we're just going to go over, since we had our meeting canceled in February, just kind of do a quick recap of our January meeting that Mr. Savodio presented. We'll do maybe a princess. Okay.
Prince.
Sorry. Okay, so that meeting was about finance and overall money sense. Some of you I know are spenders. I see it every day, spending thousands on candy bars right in my very classroom. So one of the major points of Mr. Savodio's presentation was having financial awareness. So knowing how much money is coming in, what you're spending it on, where you want it to go. So this is just a screenshot from Mint.com. How many of you checked out the website that he talked about? Good job. Two of you and kind of Gray. Okay, so this is something that we asked you to look at because this is a site that's great for tracking your income as well as your spending. So how are you spending your money? I'm sure you don't even realize that you're spending $23 a month on candy bars from Caroline, Kayla's sister. But having that awareness of how you're spending your money is really important. And Mint.com allows you to track that. It connects right with your credit cards, your debit cards, things like that. So that's one great way to use that. And a great take-home message that we heard was having a destination for your dollars. So what do you want? What is your goal? Is it to visit Barcelona, Natasha? Or is it to get a new car? Okay, so having a realistic goal and sending your money to a specific place is really important, and hopefully you guys took that with stride, and that's something that you're doing. I know car is a major purchase for all of you, right? Hopefully. And then the other thing we talked about was knowing your credit score, and a lot of you probably don't have a credit score because you're young. But these are the 3 sites that pull a credit score for you, or 3 companies that pull a credit score for you, so you can see how they compare. Right down here at the bottom is the range of credit scores. So 330 to I think 830. You obviously want to fall in the higher end with your credit score. So some of you may have a credit score because you have a debit card, or you might have a credit card. So that would be a great thing to check, and that's free. A free way to check. So how many of you have a job or consistent income? Good. How many of you have a checking account? How many of you have a savings account? How many of you have both? Good. How many of you have more than 2 accounts? Oh, all right. All stars. Okay, so One of the things that we talked about was if you're saving, having a savings account for your car, but then having another savings account for that senior trip you want to take. So having a destination for your dollars. I asked you, have you checked out Mint? Thank you, Chelsea and Miles, being kind of gray. But that's something that has an app as well. So if you use that app, it links right to your smartphone. Have any of you tried to check your credit score? Chelsea, how is it?
There's nothing there.
Nothing at all. All right, so no news is good news in your case, right? Hey guys. Good, so hopefully you remember and recall all that important information from last seminar. Question?
I got email about my credit score.
Speak up a little
I
bit.
got an email about my credit score. They said that I don't have one, but since I have an account now, I have one within 6 months, so I guess they're going to send me my first credit score when I get one. They said congratulations, you're about to have a credit score.
Because you must be developing credit. So what
Yes,
kind of
so I
account
guess
is
that's a
it?
good sign.
Yeah.
Or something. They did message me.
Who was that with? Who was?
It was, well, I got the Mint thing, and then I got my first credit card. Capital One, and then they sent, the Mint sent me something. Capital sent me something, but it showed up on Mint. So, because I connected it.
Yeah.
So like, they both sent me alerts and stuff.
Okay.
It was interesting.
Makes sense. Yep. Good, well, keep us posted, keep that score good.
Keep it good.
He's scared. He's scared to find out.
One.
If you don't use credit properly, it is scary. So, trust me.
Good, thanks.
Great. Oh, thanks. You done answering? We're gonna do the assignment later. We'll do this at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you had the end.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, I have just one or two reminders before we get into the session. Has everyone filled out their FAFSA forms?
Yeah.
Anybody, let's put it this way, anybody not filled them out? Raise your hand. Okay, Daniel, you need help, or, is there anything we can do to help you? Fill them out?
Junior. He's a junior.
Oh, okay,
It's not like the
sorry,
seniors.
sorry. Okay, you're fine, you're good for a while. How about the scholarships, Ohio First? Who filled them out? Who filled Ohio First out? You, young man, with the bow tie, did you fill them out? Yeah? 11:59 tomorrow is the deadline. If you hand it in at 12 o'clock tomorrow, it's no good. Ohio First scholarships are up to $5,000 each year, renewable for 4 years. Please fill them out. Okay? Go ahead, Mr. Burton.
The small thing that I'll add is that a lot of colleges and universities that you're probably applying to, this isn't taken away from Akron or Kent, are applying for the STEM or the Choose Ohio First sort of money that's out there. So if you're shopping around at those colleges still looking for scholarship opportunities, go home and search those right now. Those folks that put their name down for Kent or University of Akron, please understand what Mr. Venturella and this group is putting together. They're trying to stack all of these scholarships together so that you guys will have very little cost, if any, for any colleges or universities that you take on in schools you apply to in Northeast Ohio. So it's imperative that you go ahead and fill these out because we've passed your names of the schools you applied to over to Kent and Akron, and they're putting scholarship packages together for you guys. So it's important that you fill these out, and so that that way they can stack the scholarships. They can't do much if you don't apply. So once you apply, you're at the top of the list. They'll start stacking, and then they'll give us some good news.
And it will be just a little bit embarrassing if Mr. Bruner has given this list of students that have applied, you're waiting for your forms to come in. We have somebody at each school ready to hand walk your applications through the system. So imagine Kent State, 3,000 kids, whatever is applying, 2,000, they're going to hand walk yours through the system. So please get them in. Last thing I'll talk about is profiles. We finally have all the profiles. Thank you, thank you. They were due in January. We have them now. I have 5 completed, so we have 5 students where I've gone through the profiles with them. They're ready to go. At a moment's notice, we can hand them to any employer. We can use them for any job-related experience. In progress, I have 3 in progress right now. Those should be done by this week. The next set of profiles that I'll get to is the medical students. We need that for the shadowing. If you get called for shadowing, we want to have those profiles ready, so I'll work on those 10 next. Then we'll complete 2 seniors, then I'll work on 5 juniors, 8 sophomores, and 7 freshmen, okay? If you're not in those first couple of groups, the medical shadowing and the seniors, don't worry about it, we've got some time, okay? And I'm not neglecting you. It takes a while. It's about an hour and a half on each one of these profiles to go through, correct them, get them right. But once we get them right, we'll have some great profiles. So with that, I have a great session for you. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. LaRocca and enjoy the next hour and a half.
Thank you, Tom. Today we're going to talk about engineering. And if you remember, I spoke about engineering last fall. How many were here for that presentation? That's what I thought. More than half of you didn't see it. So I just brought up a few quick slides about civil engineering that I talked about, and engineering in general. But today we're going to have a speaker on construction engineering. We're going to have 2 speakers on environmental engineering. The first environmental speaker will be talking about wetlands and preservation of parks, because we have the Parks Director here. The second speaker is Mr. Hammondtree from Hammondtree & Associates, a consulting engineering firm that my firm always has teamed with in the past. He wants to talk about brownfields. What brownfields are is an area that a factory used to exist, the factory closes down, they left pollutants in their land somewhere. Now they want to use it for some other type of manufacturing. So they want to utilize that land. If it's a Superfund site, and the Superfund site is a site that is highly contaminated, you can't build anything on it, you can't plant anything on it. Well, they want to clean those up and reuse those lands because they're pretty valuable. Before I get into engineering, I did bring along, since we're going to cover, and we have a mechanical engineer, Susan Shear. I listened to an engineering presentation up at Stark State. She's involved in the hydrogen fuel cell and wind energy. Susan will be touching base on that, among other things. So those are the 4 speakers that we have. I brought along, I want you to take home, American Society of Highway Engineers. It's a national organization, all kinds of things in the highway industry. I'm going to leave them on the corner of the desk. Please take them and share them with others. Professional Engineers Magazine, here's 2 of them that I get about all types of engineering, aeronautical, mechanical, electrical. And then of course, because I'm a civil engineer, 3 civil engineering magazines. The Ohio Engineer, this is all types of engineers, engineering field. If you want to grab that, take a look at it. Some nice articles in there about different types and different occupations within the engineering field. And I brought this one along, which happens to have Mr. Font, our guest speaker, on the cover. And this is the Ohio Area Canalway Coalition. And Mr. Font from Stark Parks is involved with this group. And he's on the cover, so you want to grab this one. And you'll see a lot of things in here that he's going to be talking about. Let me bring you up to speed very quickly on let's get to do this.
Rich, question?
Mr. LaRocca,
Yeah.
the back row, I believe, only has 3 of the handouts for the guest speaker. We have a double for Mr. Font.
What was that?
That was Mr. V. I'm going to blame it on Mr. V.
Leave it on me.
And
Whatever it is.
And we have a double.
We have a double.
We have all four. We have it.
Oh, did we run short? Who does not have 4 bios?
Okay, I'm blaming it on Mrs. Oscar.
Yeah, okay. Andrew's fault.
You're right, that's the next session. I think, well, we do have a lawyer in the house, though, so Mike's sitting in the back over there, he knows.
An engineer, by definition, is a person that uses the laws of science and math to create things, make our life easier, and make a better environment in which we live. And you see a little cartoon here, there's hardly anything that you touch on a daily basis that doesn't involve an engineer. That's from the toothbrush that you use to brush your teeth, to that bottle you're drinking out of, to the pens that you're operating. Mechanical is involved in that. So there are many, many fields of engineering to get into. There we go. These are the ones I talked about very briefly, even within each one of these types of engineering. And don't try to copy them down. I think I'm going to put my presentation on the web page. Is that what we're going to try to do, Tom? Put my presentation on the web page? Or if we don't do that, because of the size of it, I'll run copies this evening.
Yes, it will be on the web.
We're going to try to do that. So today we're going to be talking about construction engineering, environmental, and mechanical, and all of those. And even within each one of those is probably 10 or 15 minors that you can get into. I specifically talked about civil engineering. Those are some of the things in civil engineering, for bridges, roundabouts. I talked about the Schufer Road interchange. These are projects just within Stark County that I was involved in, either project managed or was directly involved in. Schufer Road interchange, the Hall of Fame Bridge. Hammondtree designed the Hall of Fame Bridge, in the Transportation Improvement District that I work for, I project managed it. Fulton Road, 5-lane widening up by Belton Village. The intersection in Jackson Township, street lighting, sidewalks, widening. My company project managed that one. Here's a bridge in Portage County. So you notice that all these projects are pretty local. Here I am doing a lot of construction, which I love, right in my own area. Portage County is only a half hour away. This is a little further. Our company was responsible for State Route 711, a brand new freeway in Youngstown. Back to Canton, we did the storm sewer curb gutter drainage project. This is a water quality lake off of 30th Street, another type of civil engineering, hydraulics. And our speakers today, I'm going to give you a little introduction now. Jack Ford is Vice President of Beaver Excavating. Beaver's on Southway Street, right down the street. This is for Bob. This is his ideal. This is his ideal system, right here. Jam traffic and bicycle path right over top of them all. Mr. Font is Director of Stark Parks, handles all the parks in the area, which he will tell you about. Charlie Hammondtree is President and CEO of Hammondtree Associates, and he said he was going to talk about brownfields, old factories that are contaminated, that are going to be cleaned up and reused. And Susan is going to be talking. She's Fuel Cell Director at Stark State College. The presentation that I saw up at Stark State, she had talked about how the hydrogen fuel cell is related to the producing electricity via the wind. So that was really fascinating, and she'll probably get a little discussion on that today. I'm going to call Jack up from Beaver Excavating. Jack?
Well, he's loading that up. Really glad to be here. When Rich was telling me about your program, very impressed with the approach. From a personal experience as a very good student, grew up in a family of, the history was coal mining. My dad was a truck driver. I did not know that I had the opportunity to go to college. Decided I wanted to go. Work was the focus of our family, not education. Ended up cutting my education short when I got a good job. It worked out for me, but for the most part, it doesn't work out for people not getting that college degree. But it's a great program. Let everybody understand college education is there for you. It's available, and I congratulate you all on your efforts there. So, talking about learning, been in my career now for 37 years, and I tried to learn every day. Okay. And just last week we had a seminar I went to, and it was on leadership. And a couple of notes I made from there I'd just like to share, if I may. It has nothing to do with engineering, it has to do with leadership. People like real. I thought that was, be yourself. Don't think that you have to be this strict professional in everything you do, but people like real. Let your personality show. Learn to get over yourself. Have a clarity of what your values are and follow them. People that work for you, make them earn it. They just don't, not everybody gets a prize at the end of the day for participation out in the business world. You know, you need to earn it, and you, as you become a leader, let other people earn whatever it is they're giving. Don't be afraid to show emotion, but have emotional intelligence. Know when it's the proper time to show that emotion. Search for respect, not popularity. You know, your goal should be to be respected, not necessarily popular. And be positive. The glass is either half full or half empty. It's a choice you can make. Just a few notes I took away from that seminar. And then a book I've been reading to pass on to some of my people. Heard some conversation earlier about communication. A gentleman by the name of Peter Drucker, and this is in a book by John Maxwell called Be a People Person. Very good book. Claims that 60% of all management problems are through faulty communication. 50% of marriages fail because of faulty communication, and 90% of all criminals are unable to communicate. Just a couple things I learned last week I want to share with you. So, about Beaver Excavating. Okay. We've been in business 60 years. We're Canton, located here in Canton, and we work in a very large area. And we've got an expression that says we expect success. That's not just Beaver success, it's everybody that we deal with. The owners, the engineers that we work with, our customers, our employees, our subcontractors, everybody we deal with. Let's see if this works. Did I go the wrong way? What did I do, Red?
Pause.
Wizard. Let's see. Help. Another thing you guys will have the advantage of, you'll be a lot more computer literate than I am. The other way being. Oh. Yeah.
Get you back again.
Rich went through all these different things you're going to be covering, by the way, and I didn't hear anybody say it, but it's occupying more and more of our time. It's great for Eastern Ohio. It's great to be local. Is the Utica Shale play. If you're pro-fracking, against fracking, it doesn't matter. You have a opportunity there to get involved. Every one of these engineering practices is involved in the shale industry. And if you're a watchdog group or actually in the production side, it's growing, it's becoming more and more a part of our daily business. Okay, let's see here. Am I going the wrong way?
There you go. Now,
Now what?
hit the right side.
Hit the right side? Okay. Okay. The right arrow.
Right there.
Okay. Beaver Excavating. Again, like I said, we're in our third generation, 60 years of being in business. We do roadway construction, mass site work excavation, underground utilities, concrete structures, foundations, and we're also building buildings now. Our customer base is very heavy with clients around Canton. That's how we got our start. The Temkin Company, Republic Steel. Core values: safety, quality, loyalty, integrity, pride, customer focus, and community service. We try everything we do, we try to look at that, and number one is safety. And we are committed to work efficiently as a team to meet our, as a partner, in partnership with our customers, to exceed their expectations is our mission statement. Safety. Safety is number one. It's becoming more and more important every year just to conduct business. Our safety program is very important to us, and it's important to us not only to have guys go home at the end of the day safely, but from a business side, if this gets up to 1.0, most of the work that we do, we would not be allowed to work for that owner. And so managing our safety program and managing that EMR rating is extremely important for doing business, and a very big opportunity. We have 8 people in our safety department, and that's all they focus on. And there's also some colleges that, okay, what did I do here? Oh, total sales volume. Last year, with the influence of the shale market, we went to 220 million, quite a big jump in 1 year. So we went from $158 million in total sales to 220. It's very important to us to have a strong financial company. We've got a whole department there. There's a lot of opportunities in our accounting department and in financial planning. We have assets in excess of $80 million, and managing that is a big job in itself. So a lot of opportunities in the construction business for a financial end of things. Geographical area, we work out of 5-state area: Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Western New York. And this is an interchange we did up at Route 8 and 271. Won a lot of awards. About a $92 million project. Happy with that. Our office building, we're very proud of. We're going to be adding on this year. We built it 9 years ago, and we've got 60 people working in our office right now. That's growing every day. We have our safety department, like I mentioned, and there's some schools that specialize in safety programs as far as colleges. Then project management, most of those positions, that's a prominent part of our business, is filled with college grads, engineering degrees, or construction management degrees. Accounting department, marketing, purchasing department, and human resources is what we have here in the office. We've got now about 600 full-time employees. This needed updated. 400 full-time, 600, maybe 800 now part-time. We're a union company. We work with different trade unions, so we have those negotiations to go on with as part of somebody's job is to do that. And we've got a lot of long-term employees. It's a very rewarding career. Project staffing, out on the job. We have a site manager, project manager, if you will, typically a civil engineer. Some guys prefer to stay in the field their whole career. Other guys use that as a launching pad to get involved with other things. Our field superintendents, many of those have engineering degrees also. And the more complex our jobs get, the more important it is for that individual to be a degreed person. Somebody that is can understand the engineering and build it. We've got zero tolerance on drug and alcohol. We do, like I said, large mass earthwork projects. This wasn't Photoshop. That's actually one job with everything going on at one time there. And in that, highways, civil engineering, structural engineers, designing roadways, bridges, tunnels, airports. We did most of the work up at Akron Canton Airport on extending their runway. Do retail malls, that type of thing. Landfills, deal with a lot of environmental regulations there, and we have our engineers working in conjunction with the owner's engineers on that. Factories, a lot of the work there is done on a design build basis. We're working hand in hand with the owner's engineers, delivering just-in-time plans for construction. We'll be actually forming up a block of concrete while the engineers are designing the rebar that goes into that concrete. And when we're done forming, then they're handing us plans for rebar and working on the next set of drawings. And we do a lot of work with reservoirs and dams, and water is becoming an extremely important thing for society. Water is really a precious commodity. Embankment construction, that's where we're putting in the dirt and somebody's going to either build a building, a roadway, an airport, or a landfill on. A lot of technical support there. We get people from the engineering field, soils engineers, that can study the strength of soils and what they can hold up and make any modifications to that that's needed to in order to build upon that embankment. Heavy concrete structures, this is actually part of Republic Steel. We did this several years ago, and you guys are way too young to remember the old Ford plant. This was inside the old Ford motor plant, and this structure is actually going to house a caster, a vertical caster for steelmaking process. AutoCAD, different things. This is a 3D model of an industrial project, probably that one we just looked at, the caster right there. And it has everything both below grade and above grade and how it all fits in together. So that's another thing that part of the engineering in that. Again, just some more of the modeling. More concrete structures, reservoir. This is, we got into vertical construction. Anybody recognize this building?
Hall of Fame.
What's that?
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, I heard the Hall of Fame. So yeah, we laid all the brick for the Hall of Fame. These structures that the guys are working on are all engineered. Ties back to safety. And so, yeah, that's Hall of Fame. Food services, we do a lot of work in the food service industry. This is a cooler building for storage of food, freezer. Demolition, this is in a power plant. All this wood is inside the cooling tower where water splashes and gets cooled down before it's run back through the plant. Bridge work. Again, there's a lot of engineering going on here. This crane that's tied to this lift, that requires a plan put together by a civil engineer, structural engineer. The bridge itself, structural engineering. And this is an MSE wall, they call it, and those go up in panels, an engineered fill behind there. Decking, again, everything that holds up the bridge. There's traffic running underneath this, and so you're putting all this decking, getting ready to pour concrete. An engineer has to sign the plans for that in order to just even perform the work. Coffer dams and rivers, they have their own challenges. prefabricated bridges. I believe this is on Mr. Font's bikeway in Maslin, I believe. Landfills, again, environmental engineering, protecting the environment. Mine grouting, in this area we have a lot of voids under the ground where coal mining has happened. In order to build on top of it, you have to drill down and fill that with grout. On-site aggregate production. Then road base, different section pavement thicknesses, different, we do a lot of value engineering on projects where we'll change the structure of that pavement and save money. Drainage and utility work. Hydraulics engineers would design the flow in this for the water through the pipe and the streams. An environmental engineer would be involved with the impact of that stream. Structural engineers involved with the head walls and that type of stuff. This is an interchange down at Dover and Route 77. Interesting thing there is right up in here, we use these areas, which used to be rest areas, as our borrow pits. And we worked with Ducks Unlimited and some other environmental groups to build wetlands, the best we could do with what we had. And there's actually a bald eagle that's taken a nest in there. So I thought that was pretty neat for a highway project to make habitat for a bald eagle. A lot of equipment, a lot of opportunities in the equipment industry for engineering. A lot of money gets invested in there. And this is a large reservoir that we did for the city of Marysville for them to have fresh water supply. So that's a little bit about Beaver Excavating. I tried to work in what opportunities are there. Any questions from the group? Thank you.
Hey Jack, could you tell them maybe like how you get those jobs?
How do we get them?
Yeah, how do you get those jobs for construction industry?
Oh, okay. Project estimators. I forgot to mention that. Estimators, we get a set of plans from the engineer. We go through and we take off quantities and define the scope of work. Then we actually, through our past knowledge, past history, we price that job out, and almost all of our work is competitively bid against our competitors. And if we aren't constantly looking for improvement to get better, then we'll be left behind. So it's a competitive bid situation.
So with those bids, like, are you bidding not like, I know when you're like, if you're buying something, you want to bid a higher price. So in this case, are you bidding like time, or how long it's going to take you? Are you bidding cost of production you can do it, or how well you can do it? What is the thing you're bidding?
Okay, if we're going to move, say, a cubic yard of soil from this point over to here, we check the one, how many yards, how many cubic yards it were, how far do we have to move it, what's our haul road like, what can we do to improve that? So you're asking, it's productions more than anything. What effort do you have to put in this operation? What equipment? And then the final thing you do is then you're bidding price, and you have your bare cost, what you think it'll cost you to do that, and then you have to make a profit. So, but you have to be competitive. So the decision is, how much profit do you put, or margin, how much margin do you put on that project and still be competitive? The amazing thing in our industry, the average profit is 3 to 5%, and it's a very slim margin. And a lot of times if we got a job that's in trouble financially, if you will, we look to make adjustments that are in the 5 to 10% range. And that's huge. And it's not hard to do. Sometimes it's just getting that extra load at startup time, at lunchtime, and before quitting time. Just a little bit more effort makes a huge difference. Very competitive market.
But to answer your question a little bit better, the consultants design it. We give Jack the plans, and when he's bidding, we'll have we call them unit costs. So many cubic yards of concrete in the job, if it's a bridge. Maybe it's 1,200 yards of concrete. So he has to put a unit price on that. And if we want to use more concrete, he gets paid that unit cost. $400 a cubic yard, let's say, for a bridge abutment. So many cubic yards of asphalt on the job. And so that's what you would do as a plan designer, work up all those quantities. Where he has an edge then is we come up and try to guess how they're going to build it. We just don't put lines on a paper. We think, how can we get this for the client? Now, we're working for, say, Stark County, and we want to make it as cheap as possible. When he gets it, he's ready to bid on it. We call it value engineering. We've done a little bit of value engineering with Jack. What he will do is open up, him and his team will open up the plan, and if you notice, there are embankments on Route 77 south of Tusk instead of noise walls.
Yes, yes, you guys worked on that one with us.
For example, so Jack says, you got a lot of room here. Why don't we put a mound of earth and put trees on it to block the sound rather than these concrete walls? He came up with that. ODOT liked the idea. We engineered it for him. What'd you say, Jack?
Oh, I forget those exact numbers, but it was
Over $1 million, wasn't
it was hundreds of thousands of dollars for that noise wall. But what I was going to mention, I believe you may have been involved in this. We actually bought a piece of property, knowing the project was going to come along, and we had ideas for value engineering. We bid the job. We were very competitive. We kept our margin low because we had some ideas. So one of them was to that property, what it did, the original plans had a retaining wall, and it ended up being millions of dollars of savings. We get to keep 50% of the savings, and it makes you very competitive. And the property's still there. It's got, and it was a very nice purchase of property, so very, very well thought. I don't know if, then there's the parks on the east side of 77. One of the ideas we had that didn't go through was we were going to take Nimishillen Creek and make it a winding creek, restore it to its previous path, and eliminate a bunch of the retaining walls on 77 on the east side of the roadway. Pushed that through, ended up that was not a successful value engineering, but the fact is we spent a lot of time and effort. And afterwards, I had several people tell me I should have pushed a little bit more because it would have been such a great idea to do. So, but you just got to know when the right time is to give up. So. And yes, sir.
Now, when you talk about safety, for project to project, do you just have like a base level of safety standards, or does it change for each project? You know, like so you're not caught with any surprise cost or anything. Like if you do like any number of projects, is there like a base level of safety that applies to every project, or do you change it up?
We have a
project
goal
by project
for every project to have 0 lost time accidents. That is our goal. People will, maybe hit their thumb with their hammer or whatever, that type of thing. But does not, our goal is to have 0 lost time accidents. And we have actually won a lot of national awards from the American Road Transportation Builders and the American Society of Contractors, General Contractors, AGC, American General Contractors Association. But the safety needs to be bid into every project. You cannot take shortcuts with it. Whenever you're looking at, pipe work or sewer work, you've got to have the trench boxes in your bid to do that. Because if it's not in the bid, it's just something that can get overlooked. Yes, sir.
In the education section of your profile, you say that most of your new hires come from Akron, Ohio State, OU, and Toledo and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Do those schools offer something in particular that engineering students are really attracted to, or that you're attracted to in engineering students?
They all have very good civil engineering programs, and a lot of them have a construction management component to that. People, whenever we hire them, come in with some basic skills. And a big part of those programs, they have very good, help me with the right word here, summer job program. Internships. And they have very good internship programs, and we work with them through that process also. Okay.
So myself and a few others, we've all taken AutoCAD, so we have like a basic understanding of how the program works. What else do we have to do to work for your company in that particular?
Okay, so we have, the guys that work with AutoCAD are estimators. And so another understanding is how to take a set of plans, take them apart, find all the components of that project, quantify that work, and then look at the productions in it. So to actually, when we hire somebody out of school, it is truly just a very entry-level position. We put them out in the field, let them get the experience. The other thing that's very helpful is Primavera P6 scheduling is a very big component. Schedules are the main thing we use to communicate job progress with the owners and with our field superintendents. P6, AutoCAD, other software packages. Primavera product also is Project Manager. We use a lot to control our subcontractors, and another communication tool.
What I'd like to do, for those of you who are interested in engineering, is get a field trip planned sometime this year. We can go through their building, you can see what they're actually doing, the CAD operators, or ask questions of anyone. And I'm sure, I just sprung that on Jack now, but I'm sure Jack would be pleased to maybe take us out to a construction site.
There's actually a program that you might benefit. No, they're more than glad to do that. I just got notice of it. I won't take too much time to find it, but I'll let you know when it is. But Ohio Contractors Association has a high school constructor for a day program, and you go for a day and you visit different sites to see what's going on. But that may not be at our building, but more than glad to have anybody come in to the building. I don't know.
Send me the information when you get it, Jack. When is it? Spring? Summer?
It's in the next month or so. So
send me the information, I'll get it to them.
yes. The other thing, I'll throw this out, and the industry is very open, very friendly industry, if you will. If anybody pursues a career in construction, and even if you're not working for Bieber Excavating, and 10 years from now you've got a problem, if you don't have my contact information, you get it, give me a call. People are always ready to help with an issue. If you can help solve somebody's problem, you're more willing to help them out. So, in most cases.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Font. He's the Stark County Parks Director. I've worked with Bob since he came back to Ohio from New Jersey back in 19...
By offsetting the amount of fill it's going to take to build that hotel. The economic development is occurring, that hotel's getting built, new jobs, another newer hotel in the area. At the same time, twice the capacity for storing floodwaters on that same ditch. That's what engineers do. As much as engineers have a reputation of being very rigid and in some cases, they are actually the most creative people in the world. They create all these things you use every day. Another example of a project was the actual Sippa Lake, which was becoming an entire wetland. It's a recreational park halfway between Canton and Massillon, and I was involved in the, initially as a consultant. I was at the time a consulting engineer myself, and I was brought in to help dredge Sipple Lake. Because you couldn't run a boat in there any longer. Weeds were so thick, barely could fish, and it was declining as a recreational base for the community. And it was the main park at that time in 1994 that Sipple Lake was the main park that Stark County Park District had. Well, we went in and partnered with MS Consultant and designed a traditional dredging project. And the budget bid came in twice the amount of money that we had for the project. And the projections for getting the project done, there was no end to the project, because it was going to be dredged, the materials laid out to dry. If you ever tried to dry something in northeast Ohio, it takes a long time. So they couldn't project how long it was going to be to actually do that. And we ended up doing a nationwide search for alternative methods for dredging, and we came across a process that was being used in the mining industry, unrelated to dredging, but it was basically adding a hydrocarbon chain into the water flow to flocculate out the sediment. And the issue here was the material being proposed to dredge out of Sipple Lake was 90% water. I had a sample on my desk, set it down there, it wouldn't settle out under its own weight. Added a hydrocarbon chain to it, it flocculated it out and settled out by itself. And we could do it in one cycle. Now the danger was, this had only been done on about a bathroom tub size scale. It had not been done on a 100-acre lake before. And we ended up tackling it, built a water treatment plant on site, and over 2 seasons developed the technology to dewater that sediment and did it under budget. So that's the kind of thing that you do as engineers and not be afraid to tackle that challenge. Nobody had done it before in the scale we did, and we now, if you've ever been to Sipple Lake, it doesn't look like that anymore. It's an actually open body of water. Now you will see areas where the large plants were. That was a political decision negotiated with the 20 agencies that had jurisdiction over this project. And we weren't allowed to dredge the lake from shoreline to shoreline. We preserved 20% of it as open wetlands. And then the water that comes into the lake now is channeled over a distance of 400 feet, so the contact between the inflowing water and those plants is extended long enough to help improve the water quality. So again, there's a situation where a traditional dredging project wouldn't work. We had to come up with a solution and address not only the dredging of that lake, but the future water quality. And then the third component, there's sediment traps where these streams come in, where the sediment drops out of the water as it's slowed down entering the lake, so we can remove it on a maintenance program near the inlets instead of over time letting that sediment out to the middle of the lake and filling it back up again. That's a quick snapshot of the type of things that happen in engineering design that involved chemistry, because I'm not a chemist. We have chemistry involved in the water treatment plant and hydrocarbons. It was mechanical because we had an on-site dredging operation that pumped it. And it was the politics of selling the concept to the 20 agencies that had to oversee this and permit. This is a building in the park. Took an architect, I think Hammondtree did the structural, Ken Van Sizel was the architect that actually designed the building. It's a partnership with the library. If anybody's been to Sipple Lake, up to 12th Street, that's a partnership. That's a political decision. Political partnership. We couldn't have built that building by ourselves to the scale it is. It's about a 50,000 square foot building. We built it for $129,000 a square foot, which was about $35 under the average at that time. And if we had built it just as a park facility, it would have been less than half that size. The average visitation in a year would have been 25,000 people. With the library as a partner, we are about 200,000 visitors a year to that site. Again, that's a political meshing. That's not an engineering problem. That's a political problem that solved the problem that we had. We had no modern facility to do programming to the public in. This facility has distance learning capability. We do programs all over the world. We've gotten national awards 4 years in a row for the program we do out of that building. And other people on that list are the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, the San Diego Zoo, our own Hall of Fame, and a bunch of others that are in that caliber program. That's just the front view of the same building. Mahoning Valley Trail, boardwalk. There's a boardwalk under a state bridge up in Alliance in the floodway. So this is a hydraulics problem primarily because we had to get that bridge approved to go underneath the bridge where the water normally goes. And also get approval from ODOT to go across their property. And God bless them, I work with them all the time. But when you start bringing these agencies together, nothing's easy. But again, it's a partnership. That's structural engineering, that's hydrologic engineering, environmental is part of hydrologic. This is the bridge that was on earlier, I think referred to. The reason I'm putting it on there is because there's a 10-foot sidewalk on that bridge. We got involved with the county engineer and the Football Hall of Fame who wanted the artwork on it, which is advertised in the Hall of Fame. And we partnered and widened it before it was built because we knew there was going to be a trail built. Now, how many years has that bridge been there? Bridge? Lose him? It's been there about 7 years now. So it's been there, let's say 7 years. That we paid for that, you paid for that, so your parents paid for that sidewalk is when that bridge was built, and it sat there. Today, we're designing that trail connection to the North Canton YMCA. In fact, there's a public meeting tomorrow night in North Canton to explore how we're going to get from that bridge to the North Canton Y. Politics. We have to come up with a route that the public and the elected officials in North Canton and Plain Township accept, and the county engineer, because it's his road there, that will be viable and usable for part of our countywide trail system. So again, I came by this, my career route was not typical, but I'm dealing with engineering problems every day. This is the towpath trail in western Stark County. That was our first project. When I was hired as the full-time park director in 1995, I looked at the resources the county had, and the towpath was owned by the county, but the only part developed was up on Canal Fulton where the canal boat is, about a mile. We happened to have a Congressman Ralph Regula, who his pet project was the towpath. And so again, politics, how would we make Stark County Park District, put it on the map countywide? In 1995, we had Simple Lake and Petros, which were in Perry Township. Anybody know how many political subdivisions in Stark County?
A lot.
36. Not counting the county government or Stark Parks. So we were in 4 of those communities in 1995, and we only had, but physically in 4 of them. Most of it in Perry Township. 90% of the resources were in Perry Township. So how do you take a park district that is in basically one township, pass a new levy countywide, and get all those people to vote for it, and they're going to say in mass, if they're in Alliance, why am I paying for a park in Perry Township? This was a national project. The congressman had promoted it through the media, and he had inspired, he was involved in developing the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, where those bikes I mentioned a little while ago were headed when they were leaving out and going out of town. And I said to myself, I said, well, gee, we own 25 miles of this in Stark County. And it's his pet project. Gee, how can we get money for this project? Well, guess what? He personally contributed, through his efforts, about $1 million a year towards this project's development then. Because he believed in it, he happened to be in a position to deliver the resources to the county, and we started capitalizing on that relationship. And then we passed the levy in 1997 to convince the county population as a whole that this was a good idea to use to connect the entire county. And they paid for an idea. And that's a hard sell in politics and levies. But they adopted this idea in 1997, increased our revenue from $750,000 to $2.4 million annual tax. Now we're up to $6.4 million annual tax that the public voted on, starting with this political idea. We couldn't have the park system today but for politics. So don't gloss through that political side of your training. And again, I'm not talking about the gridlock of Washington. That's not politics. My dad taught me a long time ago, and I learned from reading the great compromises before the Civil War. Politics is the art of compromise. The solution's got to be a win-win. The community won. This is improving quality of life. It's adding to the economic viability of Stark County. Companies want to locate here because they have access to this recreation, and that generates jobs. It pays for itself. Studies prove that the value of property within a mile, 3 miles of recreational resources, anywhere from 5 to 20% higher. That higher value pays taxes higher rate, which generates revenue to offset the revenue that we need to run these parks. It also generates economic benefits for business transactions, whether it's tourism. Hall of Fame is part of that. Well, Hall of Fame visitation, we can't compare to the national exposure that Stark County gets for that. But their visitation is about $250,000 a year to the Hall. I told you that Exploration Gateway, just that building for the park district's $200,000. You figure out what the whole park system throughout the whole county generates in visitation in a year's time, and translate that into economic development type value. A day tourist spends $30 a day. If we get them to stay overnight, they spend $150 a day. We're working on a trail system in Minerva right now, and within 5 to 10 years, Minerva is a trail destination for visitors. You'll be able to go to Minerva, ride a bike up to Walborn or Deer Creek Reservoir, or to Louisville, or to East Park, all about 10-mile trips. And then you can do that on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you're a bike rider, and that's a great weekend getaway. That's economic development impact. This is just a pre-construction view of the trail. And this is another engineering part of that. We went over live railroad. By live, I mean there's trains going over this while we're building it. It was where the old canal used to be. But when the canal was abandoned in 1913 because of the flood, the railroad needed to replace the bridge. They just filled it in. So again, engineered a tunnel that was drilled as we went type thing. And we built the tunnel out of steel plates so you could drill in and put the plates as you went. And this one had a unique solution to it, a unique engineering problem, because halfway through we found out they filled with pea gravel. Now, anybody have any idea what pea gravel is? It's
like really small gravel.
Yeah, it's like filling them with marbles. And as soon as you open up a hole, the marbles start rolling out. So we ended up injecting a polymer in there to firm up the marbles till we could get the plate through and secure it structurally to complete the tunnel. That was a surprise we found in the middle. Again, engineering-wise, we had to come up with a solution in the middle of the project. I don't know if I have a picture of the next one. Well, this is the last bridge that was just opened last December. This is a bridge over to Tuscarawas County. This used to be an aqueduct. And anybody know why there was an aqueduct on the canal?
Bring in water.
No, it was not a water supply aqueduct. It was actually to convert, that era's transportation system, and they were moving the canal boats from the west side of the river to the east side of the river, so they had to cross the river. And they did it by building an aqueduct so the water was transmitted from one side of the river to the other so the boats could float across the river because they couldn't carry them across effectively. Well, that aqueduct we were replacing with a bridge for pedestrians, and that was another project that we had to solve. The one I was going to refer to, I don't think I have the picture of, was a bridge in over Deer Creek Reservoir. Deer Creek Reservoir up in Alliance is a 260-foot clear span bridge, $2+ million bridge. We were drilling the foundations. We're drilling down 50 feet, 10 holes, 50-inch in diameter in a live dam. They had to use the liquid pumped into those holes while they pulled the dirt out to neutralize the hydrostatic pressure. That's the pressure the water puts on the dam to make sure there was no differential pressure and create water flow, and then the whole thing collapsed. Well, while they're digging for that bridge installation, even though you do soil testing or drilling ahead of time to try to figure out what's underneath, you don't know until you get there. And we found that there had apparently been some sort of damage to the dam after it was built, and they fixed it by pouring concrete into it. So we ran into a slab of concrete about as big as this room where we were supposed to put a wall in. So I go out on the job that morning, and there's a guy with a jackhammer digging out this concrete. And I talked to them a little while and said, well, the dam, the restrictions on the dam, which was owned by the Corps of Engineers, you couldn't have anything bigger than a 90 PSI impact machine, which is a handheld like you see in the street. And I said, how long is it going to take us to dig out this trench to pour concrete in concrete? And he said 2 weeks. Well, that was an estimate of about 100 to 150,000 change order, because it was going to, everything on the site was going to have to sit for 2 weeks when they dug this thing out. In a period of 3.5 hours, with about 3 engineers in the room and 4 on the phone, we re-engineered that cutoff wall so we didn't have to cut out that concrete, and we actually changed the configuration of that wall to fit around the concrete, anchored it, and redesigned the rebar in about 4 hours on the job. That change order cost us about $7,000. You saved between $100,000 and $150,000 in change orders because those engineers on the job solved that problem. Something nobody could see ahead of time. They didn't know there was a hunk of concrete underneath that dam.
Tell the kids why your piers are short there, Bob.
The piers are short because to engineer, those piers have been in the water since it was built in the 1860s. And to re-engineer those piers to make them structurally carry that bridge, it was cheaper to go across it free span. They repaired them, capped them, so when you're on a bridge, it looks like it's sitting on those piers, but there's not, the only thing we used them for was to build the bridge. It had to be, it just stabilized the bridge as we were installing it, and that was it. So it's aesthetic. That's the dedication. I don't think you can see Congressman Reagan was there at that, and a little PR for the parks, because we feel we're an outstanding park district. And so I'll leave that for the political campaign speech when we're on the ballot again in 5 years, which time I hope you were all voters by then, and will continue to support. You're always selling. That's my point. So don't always forget, you're always selling. Questions? Yes.
Most of the jobs we want to do have applications for the public and private sector, and you worked in both. Which one do you say you enjoyed more?
This.
You enjoyed the
But I
public sector?
had the benefit of having done the other. I mean, I ran businesses. I made a lot more money, quite frankly, in the private sector. It's much more beneficial financially. But this is my passion. I started out in the EPA in New Jersey. I worked on mapping wetlands when they were mapping them from satellite photos, infrared photos to map them. First time, you know, doing things new, exciting. You got to really pick what your interests are. I happen to have a passion for the environment. I spend a lot of time outdoors. You know, it's my job to carry a bike in my car in the summertime and ride the trails. I mean, you know, it's what you get out of work. I happen to like to play. I like riding my bike. Not everybody's going to like the same things I like, so that's really an individual choice. You know, making money's fun. There's nothing wrong with that. I've made a lot of fun in my life, but you have to personally pick what you love, because then it's not a job. Of those 45 years I've worked, like I said, there's only 2.5 years of that where I had to drag my butt out of bed in the morning because I was going to do something I didn't like. But I didn't settle for that. I changed it. And you can do the same thing. If you don't like what you're doing in a job today, you've got to look at how you figure out to get to something you like. Make your hobby your job. Anybody else? Thank you.
Bob made a statement about win-win. Don't let him kid you. I've been in negotiations with this guy, and it's Bob wins.
I've been there too, Rich.
You've been there too?
It's Bob wins.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's Bob wins. I can tell. Who asked the question about public service versus private?
Ask me that question.
I was 30 years in public, 15 years in private, and there's benefits to both sides.
Let me tell you a little story about private versus public projects. I never met a private sector person who counted his days down to retirement. I can tell you that. I'm trying to negotiate where I can work longer. I'm just getting started. I don't really look forward to retirement. I look forward to the next thing I'm trying to accomplish. I really enjoy what I'm doing. That's how I look at it. But yeah, you could have a rewarding career in the public sector also. But usually you're a little more specialized in doing more of the same thing. You can kind of set your own destiny if you're in the private sector. It's kind of nice. I'm Charles Hammondtree, CEO of Hammondtree Associates Consulting Engineers, planners, scientists, surveyors. Been in business since 1966. We're about an 80-man firm and have 6 offices. Added 3 more offices within the last 2 years. 2 of them in Ohio, one in St. Clairsville, one in Cincinnati, and as of January, opened up an office in Lithuania. Everybody know where Lithuania is? Right sides forward. Yep, kind of northeast of Poland, just west of Russia. But it's a country that's going to be in the Eurozone maybe in 2015. So in 2015, they got their application in. But why do we get an office in Lithuania? That's a nice story. Well, we've done pretty well the last 5 years, pretty much doubled our revenue and grown our company. Hence, we're able to add the other offices. Some of our biggest customers are Exxon, Chevron, BP in the last year, and one of those customers said, hey Charlie, you really need to get a PhD. Some of your competition are put PhDs in front of us and this and that. Okay, so I started shopping for a PhD in environmental engineering. And well, then that kind of died off. They didn't really need an environmental engineer. Where our position with them was secure. They were going to keep using us. They liked the work we did. We've been with them 5-6 years, really since the energy play started. But I saw this resume of this person, and I saw what she was able to do. And her name's Dr. Virkatita Jūratė. She's a woman. She's a PhD. She's from Lithuania. She's been in this country for 5 years and lives in Cincinnati. She's been working with US EPA. So she brought to our firm another field, another service that we didn't currently offer. So we're kind of developing that business sector right now, and we had some leads and opportunities in Lithuania. One of them was with the Lithuania Railways. We have a proposal in right now that's being negotiated. So to do business in Lithuania, we had to have a Lithuania company. So that's why we're registered in Lithuania. And that's also a base from which we can also do other environmental projects in Eastern Europe, which has been contaminated. When the Soviet bloc was there, they didn't have like the EPA. So these environmental regulations, yeah, they slow projects down, but you ought to go see some of these countries where they didn't have any environmental regulations for the last 30 or 40 years. So there's a lot of contaminated sites, contaminated water. They didn't keep up with the upgrade of their wastewater treatment plants and their water plants. So there's a market there, and with kind of being relatively new, private sector, they're kind of new to free enterprise. We think we can assist them in those areas, and as well as our scientific and engineering areas. So that's why we have an office in Lithuania that we're developing. So I'm not an environmental engineer, kind of environmental engineering that Rich was explaining to you, brownfields and site cleanup and Superfund sites. I'm more of a civil engineer, surveyor, highway engineer, municipal engineer in projects. But I've attended enough of Urati's presentations in the last 3 months that I know enough about it that I'll share it with you and see if your aptitudes may take you there one day. I do think the science is very exciting, especially our approach to it and how we think we have a better program than some of the traditional methods of cleaning up a site. There's some advantages to what Urati's expertise brings and what her specialty of her PhD, her dissertation was, and some of her project history. So I guess I'm going to click this on here. It's the right arrow goes forward. There we go. Well, that's our company. We do general civil engineering, surveying projects. That Aqueduct Bridge, the last one that Bob was showing you across the canal there. Did you tell them the story about that flower that was on that project now? Well, there's an endangered flower species there that the project probably would have been built, what, maybe a year, 2 years earlier or something like that. But the environmentalists were concerned that this flower doesn't grow in a lot of places, so we had to wait until the right time of year. I think actually those flowers were transplanted, weren't they? So that's the care, and transplant those flowers. Probably, 1 or 2 years of building a project, that's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of public disruption. But that's the way it is to build a project in this country. And, so we want to help them do that. So we've got environmental people on staff that can go out and do those kinds of studies and make sure that wetlands aren't being destroyed, which our customers are very concerned about, especially in the oil and gas industry. They're very responsible people. They do things the right way to protect the environment and spend a lot of money to do it the right way. Okay, so now we're back to environmental engineering as far as cleanup. So before I turn the slide, there's some, this is electrokinetic treatment technique. It's using electricity in the ground to treat contaminants, to remove the contamination from soils. Okay, there's a phrase at the top. You don't have to be experts at all of this, but biotreatment, ex situ or in situ. Who knows what in situ means? Anybody? I know you engineers know and all that. Well, in situ means you treat it in place, in the ground. That's, I don't know, Latin or Greek or something. But ex situ would mean you treat it, you'd remove it and treat it and put it back. So it's much more cost effective and less disruptive to the environment to treat contaminants removed from the soil while they're in the ground instead of bringing in a firm like Jack to haul. I'm sorry, Jack, I'm costing you some business here with this method. But
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah. But there are instances where you can't always go in and excavate. Suppose there's what they call a plume. A plume's the contaminant extends underneath the ground. And the plume might be underneath a building, maybe underneath a hospital, where you had maybe a piece of equipment fail and there's oil and gas and whatever contaminants and chemicals, and it's dangerous to be around and have humans near it, and it's threatening the water systems or water tables. So one method that we call electrokinetic treatment process. You can actually put anodes and cathodes. Anybody know what an anode and cathode is? How about an example of an anode and cathode would be, anybody drive cars? It'd be terminals on your batteries, right? Your anode's the positive terminal, cathode's the negative terminal, and you draw current, positive and negative, to those terminals, right? You get an electron flow and it starts your car, all those kinds of things. So that's what we do in those situations. You put in these rods, metal rods, iron rods, and they're polarized, and anodes and cathodes. And you put them strategically. You'll do a test pit or test site, and you hook them up to a power source. And those contaminants usually have a valence to them. They're either positively charged or negatively charged. Have to be drawn to those cathodes and anodes. So now you're pulling the contaminants out of the soil. Usually heavy metals works well with this type of treatment. They work well in clay type soils, which are less permeable. Anybody knows what permeable means, or
Water.
Right. So if I have my hand open like that and I shoot a hose through it, that's pretty permeable. Water's going to go through my hand, right? If I got my hand tighter, water will still go through it, but that's a lot less permeable. It's the same thing with soils. So the clay soils have smaller voids on it; they're much less permeable. So because of that, the electric charge works better in those kinds of soils. Because like in sandy soils where you have bigger voids and gravel, you'll draw those charges, but you won't draw them to the source. They'll just be like going every direction. So you have more of a controlled path in the clay soils. And with the right water content, this works best like with water content. Soils like 80% water content, which all soils have a certain amount of water content. So there's a bunch of other systems on there to solidification and stabilization. A lot of times you'll go in, they might heat that ground or put those soils through some type of oven system to remove the contaminant, vaporize them essentially. You might run them through filters with water. You might put other chemicals into the ground, which I think the EPA would prefer other processes that you don't have to do that with to remove contaminants. And a lot of times you can draw those contaminants out of the ground and you can recycle them too and reuse them. I know some sites are contaminated with chromium, but so you use chrome in your cars and your bumpers and stuff. So there's a lot of manufacturing processes that use chromium. You can pull the chromium out of the ground and reuse it, and some other things like that. So what's the market for this kind of work? Well, the market is over the last 100 years of a manufacturing society that didn't always have the environmental controls and regulations. They might just take their byproduct or their industrial waste and dump it in a field, dump it behind their factory, and now those factories have left, and we'd like to bring other business in to, hey, how'd you like to start a business here? Well, you can't, because there's hundreds of millions of dollars of cleanup you have to do to be able to build there. You can't use the property for anything. So there's some funding in place, and if you could do it affordable, you can remove that contaminant with an environmental engineering's plan, and also there's a construction component, depending what the plan calls for. So that's the market for it. That's one market for it. The mining industry has a need for it. They have a lot of byproduct, acid mine runoff. That's another thing in our state, in southeast Ohio especially, that's pretty prevalent. And so there's processes like that to treat the water used in coal mining. That gets very acidic, and treat it before it gets into the rivers and streams. And that problem in Eastern Europe also. And there's a lot of this oil and gas mining work going on, and they use fluids with solvents in them to frack the shale layers to draw out the natural gas out of the ground. And those that flowback water, that water that comes back out of the ground with the gas, they separate it out, but then they have basically contaminated water. So they can use different processes to remove the contaminants out of that flowback water, and they can use that water again to keep refracturing. Water is a very valuable element. You hate to have to keep buying it or pulling it out of the rivers and streams or trucking it or piping it. So whatever they can reclaim and use through environmental treatment is pretty valuable. So that's another market for it. Actually, we were invited to give a presentation for the next couple of weeks out west. There was there's a lot of mining activity out there. There's an area of contamination about the size of West Virginia, in the state of New Mexico, Utah, Arizona. Happens is you got the mine spoils, but there's uranium components in it. And so this uranium's contaminated these sites, and it's on Indian reservations. These Indian reservations are very concerned about how to clean this up, and they get a certain amount of funding and royalties from these mining companies. So they're going to use that money towards starting to clean up the higher priority sites. So we're going to make that presentation by invitation. They asked us to come and make that presentation through the Department of Energy and Indian, I'm not going to say which tribe it is, but they have their own EPA within the own Indian reservation. Like we have U.S. EPA, they're their own country essentially within our country and have jurisdiction. So it would be like the Indian EPA. We're going to make that presentation to them. I think the attraction, the sell that got them interested in was we can go in and do this type of work without actually digging up the ground and making dust and disturbing the environment, which they would be very sensitive to. So if they can treat this and have this uranium removed and protect their water sources, I think they'll be very pleased. So we'd like to show them how to do that. So let's see here. Those are that's kind of just a general oversight of. No, I went the wrong way. There you go. Okay. That's just a little chart of direct current technologies. These are different terms used for electrokinetics. They're all that's digital. What else? Gotta get my laser. It's the first time I got to use this. I'm like, okay. Direct current technologies, electrokinetics, electrochemical remediation. That all involves electricity, electrochemical oxidation. Those are all very similar processes using electricity as a component of the treatment process. Electrokinetic, aided remediation, induced complexation. I'm not the PhD, she's in Cincinnati, so I'm just kind of sharing information with you. Okay. All right, that's trying to see the cost. Okay, this shows how much, you're talking electricity, well, it's got an environmental component too. So the electricity used, that nitrification process, this shows how much, there's much more energy used in the vitrification or heating the soils to remove the contaminants. Electrokinetic uses this, a range of that amount of energy to treat it. So it's competitive that way. I don't want to. This was over my head when I first saw it too, so don't worry about it. But data needs, hydraulic conduct, this is what you need to use that type of process, hydraulic conductivity, the depth of the water table, the aerial extent of the contamination. These are all factors, salinity, how much salt is in metals analysis. If you have a bunch of metal in a site, it's hard to use electroremediation because the charges will be drawn to underground, like a buried tank or a chunk piece of car or slag from a power or a steel mill. That makes this process kind of difficult. Let's see if we can actually show you. You can see right there. Those would be those anodes and cathodes going into the ground with charges hooked up. Power sources hooked up to them. And that might run over a 6-month period or something like that. And it's very safe. You can maybe get shocked, but you're not going to, that's a level of voltage that you're not going to die from it or anything like that. So it's maybe even safer than some other methods. And then, okay, I guess I should have explained to you, okay, you're drawing these contaminants to these cathodes and canodes. What do you do with them? What happens to them? Well, you could put in like pipes or manholes or PVCs, and they're being pumped in as a liquid. Water's usually, there's some other catalysts with them, and they can be pumped out and trucked away or else recycled. So at those anodes and cathode points or central points, strategically located, you Those are your extraction points for the contaminants. Yeah, I guess a big thing too would be to have a power source. Something that, like this would be an example, like, you know, suppose you live near a site that was contaminated. You want them coming in there with bulldozers for 6, 8 months, a year, with all that noise and all that dust. Well, this is a method that can remove those contaminants, keep the councilman happy, not getting all those phone calls, or, you know, those kind of things. Right? There's something else they use it too. You can use it to dry out. Suppose you've got soils that are wet, and you've got some structural damage or threatening to like the stability of a wall or even a basement wall. Like in Amsterdam, they have a lot of dikes. And, they use these to stabilize the dikes so that they don't breach when they start to fail. If they get too wet and saturated, they lose their strength. So you can put these rods in without disturbing the dike, draw moisture out of the soil by making it returning back to its original structural strength. So it's pretty hard to do that type of work without disturbing the structural integrity of those other things. So that's another use for electrokinetics. But it's not really a new technology, but it's just not the commonly used one. It's probably the last 20 years there's some proven cases where the EPA's used it and preferred. But I think it's not being used because it's less expensive. So the environmental firms that do this kind of work and contractors, I think they're used to getting a certain amount of money from the way they do it. With the kind of public money that's sometimes spent with these projects, it merits looking at different options of doing things. I'm not saying that this is always going to work, but in certain instances, that option should be considered. They should understand the technology, and that's what we're doing at our firm to explain it to them. Well, there's the cost. That's electro, called reclamation here, $70 to $195 per ton. The cleanup time is about 6 to 12 months, and that's very comparable with those other methods, but it's on the more economical side of all these other methods. So it just depends on the conditions and what demands, and we think that that's more times than not a solution to a lot of these cleanup problems that it's not really commonly used. Well, I don't want to go on too much. Rich gave me the signal, 5 more minutes, so he's going to give me the hook. I'll answer any questions about anything you have regarding consulting engineering or environmental engineering or college or education or schools or funding sources. I'm on the advisory council of engineering technology at Stark State. I'm on the oil and gas curriculum advisory council at Stark State. I know that if you go to Stark State and you go into engineering, that I think there is an opportunity for anyone to get probably at least 50% of their tuition paid for. We constantly talk about that at our meetings.
Is there any school you recommend that teaches this type of excavating? Not excavating.
Well, I guess you can go to Vilnius in Lithuania. They taught her in there, but I think there's some schools that teach. I really had to study which schools are offering that particular process in our country, but in the Baltic states it might be a little more common. She went to the University of Finland also, PhD and things like that. So. Okay, no questions? All right.
Next is Susan Shear. Because there's not as much time as we would like to completely do the fuel cell, Susan's going to talk about Career
Chemical
Day.
engineering in general, and then I'm going to show a video called Career Day that sort of exposes you to multiple facets of engineering fields in the bearing industry side. And then when I come back, I'll talk more about fuel cells specifically. But in the meantime, I can present the PowerPoint that I have, I just put it out and shared with you by email, so you'll have some background.
So it's unfair to Susan to just cut her time. So, 2 parts. First, she's going to talk, you see the movie, and next time we'll talk about fuel cells and wind energy. And because everybody has to go at 4, Susan, you have 10, 12 minutes. Oh.
Hey, maybe while we're waiting here, Ken, we sat with Dr. Sarah Hill from Stark State the other day, and she is devising a curriculum on engineering that does exactly what?
You're gonna put that right on me.
Yeah, I am.
Wow.
Do you recall? It was, you
I don't know what you're gonna
graduate
answer.
from Early College Academy.
I got you.
You go to Stark State for 7 classes, is it? Seven courses.
I thought it was for a year.
Okay, you transfer to a 4-year college.
What she's looking at is, for those that, if this grant goes through, having it so that, and not many of you know about this, but we were, as far as early college is concerned, we were looking for something for juniors and seniors to try to get you to transition to being on campus and being more specialized. So it's still, in a sense, like a dream, but this is making it so it's more real. So instead of having it so that you guys take the general courses, like for arts, and the general courses for science, to kind of cover the whole gambit of things to make it so that you're more selective, if you decide at your junior level or your senior level what pathway is best for you, we can put you into a more streamlined track in the engineering part, so that when you're a senior, you'll take courses through that senior year and transitioning through, so that when you go off to University of Akron, Kent, or whatever college you go to, you'll take care of everything at a baseline level, so that you can get into your career field of choice and be able to come out sooner with your degree in engineering.
I thought she said it was designed so that at the age of 21 they would be able to become full-time engineers, correct? And that's the way it was done. So it's a fast track pathway to engineering. They're willing to do it for us. It's something you're going to hear more about in the very near future, because we have 10 or 12 of you that are interested in engineering, and we think this is going to be terrific. So Stark State is really stepping to the plate in more ways than one, but it's very exciting.
And what is really making this possible as well is, as an example, the 2+2 agreements that we have with Akron U for civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and electrical engineering. So having that 2-year associate's degree in pre-engineering, that is an actual contract with the university, that when you finish these 2 years, it's directly transferable for your first and second year, then it really makes gives you the ability to fast track your engineering degree. So my name is Susan Shear, and I'm the Director of Fuel Cell and Alternative Energy Technologies. Today, I'm actually going to share just a little bit of what an engineer is in the bearing industry, and then I'll talk more about the fuel cells and alternative energy when I come back, because there really just isn't enough time. I'll be honest, I could speak for hours on that. I talked for 5 hours yesterday with a group of professional engineers just on introduction to wind energy, so you can imagine. So I'm going to be very brief because I know the time is very tight, but and I will also share these slides in advance with you so that you'll have more details, since I'm going to kind of do a quick view here. But above all, what you've seen from the multiple presentations that you've had today already, and the earlier presentations that you had from Rich and other engineers, is engineers are innovators, problem solvers, improvers, fixers. We are individuals who think outside of the box. who can't stop thinking about something that we think isn't quite right until we decide how it can be better. So that is one of the base traits of an engineer. So you'll find engineers in really all areas of companies, in logistics, in continuous improvement, in management, because of our thought processes and how we deal with any kind of problem or opportunity, in research and development, manufacturing and design. And what I can say of those 6 areas, my career has taken me to 8 states and 5 of the 7 continents, and I have had jobs in all 6 areas throughout my career. So you really have broad opportunities in mechanical engineering. And engineers generally are also paid very well, which is nice. It's fun to get paid well for what you enjoy doing. And that's the other message that I think has come through very clear to all of you, is if you do what you enjoy, if you put your talents to work, you will succeed, and you're going to never work a day in your life, because every day will be a joy, or most every day. Some days aren't really fun. There are times in management that it is your job to tell somebody that they don't have a job anymore. But, you know, those days are few, and I can say that I have enjoyed probably 99.9% of my career, both in the private sector and the public sector. So I'm going to kind of skip through some of this, but my focus is mechanical engineering. I graduated from Purdue University and got my first exposure to engineering as a co-op summer intern with Kimberly-Clark. So I had the opportunity from Indiana to work my summers in Wisconsin and Galena, California. I tell you, that was a wonderful job to work in LA in the summer when it doesn't rain and you can ride your bicycle everywhere. And the native Californians were shocked by my transportation means, because none of them would have ever considered to live in California with only a bicycle for transportation. And I actually did get to learn that they have quite an intricate bus system within California, and I could get anywhere in the state by bus and connection. So I rode my bike to and from work every day, and the only day that it was difficult was riding into the Santa Ana winds. So I got to work with sand plastered in my face. But fortunately I was in a paper mill, so I had a uniform that I could change and clean up and be comfortable for work that day. So what I'm going to start with is just this career day video, and then when I come back, we'll talk more about my experiences as an engineer in the different areas that I work in the different companies that I work for, and I can give you my opinion of the pros and cons of some of the private sector and public sector differences.
How many of you are attending the Goodyear Engineering Career Fair? Raise your hand, please. Okay. Does anybody else want to attend? I have some permission slips here. It's a half a day at Akron University, sponsored by Goodyear, and it's a wonderful event. Does anybody else need anyone here? Anyone else? It's all free. We'll be sending, right now, Deb, one bus, how many do we have right now?
We have about 40 people right now, seniors. The seniors who are on the project committee, you all should be planning on going, so that's 12 of you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have permission slips for another 27, so it's about 40 people.
So we have at least a full bus load going down. It's a great event. If you need, I'll leave these forms here if you need any more.
And guys, before we do this, those of you who are going, we need to push this with the underclassmen because it is an interactive day, and I can't wait to get there. So let's push it. We need to know how many are going by Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Tom and I are also working with the University of Akron. Probably May, we're going to take a group of students, also an interactive day, go through the lab, talk about engineering. That'll be in May. I want to get coordinated with Jack. We'll do that constructor for a day. If you really found construction interesting, we'll see if we can get you on that list with Jack. And all the people that spoke tonight, we will try to, everybody talked about an intern position, possibly. We'll just get a tour of what they have anyway, so throughout the year. So I'll be talking to all those that have listed engineering as their #1 priority. And then if we have room, everybody else is welcome to go too. So
this is a
periodically we'll let you know.
Thanks, Rich. This is a great video.
I believe we have sound. Does that have to be turned on, Ken? Hey, Ken? Okay. How about the amplifier inside the white? See the key right behind you? Open the door. Is that amp turned on?
Yeah, same time.
Because that had to be on when we played Christmas music.
I don't want to push it, so I'll turn it off.
Let me keep going as we're trying to get the sound. I know you're all saying it's 4 o'clock, but these gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for coming. Absolutely fantastic. Giving up your Sundays with your family, I mean, that's really, we appreciate it so much. In addition, Mr. LaRocca's mom passed away last night, and he is here conducting his session. So when you talk about dedication, that's what I'm talking about, dedication to you students. So I hope you appreciate it, and I hope that just proves that they're all here for you and willing to do just about anything to make sure that you have a great life. Okay, so Mr. LaRocca, I can't thank you enough for being here. I'll keep going, Jack, until we get going here. Jack, fantastic. The way you wove human resources, accounting, legal department into your presentation, that just goes to show you there's more than one career. Think about it. If you say, I want to be in accounting, but you love engineering, you could do accounting and engineering department. I mean, that's kind of how we want to expand your thinking about career paths. So that was absolutely wonderful. The other thing that came out, Jack, was teamwork, how important teamwork was. They not only have civil engineers, they have structural, environmental. When you get a project together, there's all these different people, different types of engineers working on a project. That's teamwork. That's how important that is. The other thing I heard was margins and profits. You cannot run businesses without profits. Jack told you about three margin points. I came from an industry, the grocery industry works on 1 margin point. So Giant Eagle and all of these customers that you go, your parents do shopping, you do shopping, 1% is their bottom line gross profit margin. So, you know, that's how important profits are, and you'll obviously get more involved in that in the future. Bob, do it well, right, is what I heard. Whatever you're doing, Do it well. You may not like it, but do it damn well, okay? Please. Salesman, I love that. I'm a sales and marketing guy, so I love it. You're always selling. You're always selling something, I don't care where you are. And we talked about interpersonal skills and how important those are. You can't be a good salesperson. You can't sell your company like Mr. Hammondtree unless you have good interpersonal skills. Okay? And Bob, you also get the word of the day, flocculate out. And so flocculate out is the word of the day, and you have to be very careful how you pronounce it. Charlie, I love it. We're down to environmental engineering is one extinct flower all the way to an area the size of West Virginia that's contaminated. So it's absolutely mind-boggling. And I love engineering. I'm a sales and marketing guy, and I'm starting to love it even more. And if we could get this video going, you would really be pumped, I think. But
We're going to do it next time, Tom.
We are?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
It's
All right.
4 o'clock now, but after.
Okay. We are going to, 1 second, Greg. We're going to let EJ say, he's got 30 seconds, and then Mr. Zosky is going to hand out something to you, and then have a great rest of the day.
Just really quick, the McKinley Senior High School, we're having a second musical this year for the first time ever. We did our fall one already, but now we're doing our spring one. And for the last couple of musicals, we have either been breaking even, or we've been losing money due to the cost it is to get the rights for the show, the costumes, all that stuff. And most of the reason is because of not having ads. So one of our directors has graciously maxed out his credit card already for the production of this show. And so in an effort to help get back some money for the program, we have lowered the cost and set up a new system for ads in our program. And what I'm just going to ask you guys to do, if you guys can think of anybody, like a business that you go to, a small business, that would like to put an ad, it's $100 for a full-page ad, $50 for a half-page ad, and $25 for a quarter of a page. And it's really simple. All of the information is on this sheet, and then you just design your whatever you want and send the logo off the email address that's listed here. So if there's a coffee shop or a place you go to get your hair done, or a nail place, or if your parents have friends who own a small business or whatever, it would be greatly appreciated if you could help out the musical. Like I said, one of our directors has put a lot of time and a lot of money into this, and this would really help us out a lot. So I have the forms if anybody wants one.
I will ask Mr. Sipek to help us with the CAST organization, and we'll get it out to that group. CAMP is sponsoring a full-page ad, and EJ is going to design it for the CAMP program. So thank you, EJ. Andrea will finish up.
Okay, what I passed out to you is very self-explanatory. I have all the directions on there, but we're going to have you take a look at in-demand jobs that are needing more people, and there's some websites listed right on the back that you can use for this. Pick 3 careers that are of interest to you, so don't just pick the first 3 like, oh, that's what I saw, I'm just going to get it done. Pick something that's interesting to you, make it worthwhile for yourself. What's the career, what's the outlook or the projection as far as jobs in that field? What's the average salary in that field, and then what's the educational requirement? I made a table. I love tables. This is a table. The important thing on here is the deadline. Okay, so with your pen or highlighter, if you're Matt Kidron as well. Wow. Right. The deadline for this is going to be the next camp meeting, so bring it with you. If you're somebody like, I don't know, Caleb, you lose things, happen to all of us at some point. Hey, get it done and you can bring it to me and I'll bring it for you. But, you know, somebody like Vivian doesn't lose things. She's probably fine to bring her own. Okay? Kayla? Okay, so next meeting, have this done for us.
And guys, please, do me a favor, keep my blood pressure down and my conversations with Mr. Bruner down. Do not do this assignment and get it into Ms. Lazarski. If I find out, and I'm going to be tracking this one, this will be the start of our communication gap. If I find out, I'm going right to Mr. Bruner, and please, just get it in. We should not be having this much trouble getting these assignments in, okay? Lastly, and
He comes to me, I'm coming to you.
can we raise this? The Summer and the group would like another group photo. You need to all come up here, please. And tallest people in the back, because we're losing half of you in the last group picture.
That's easier than that.
Similar to the setup you had last time. Tall people in the back.
You're tall,
Hi, go ahead.
How are you?
Oh, what's it?
And you know that
Yeah.
Caitlin and probably where Summers at. Everybody else got active.
Okay, unfortunately, this is not, like, could I have a smaller layer come in and like kneel or something, because it's too wide.
That means sure people get.
Thank you, that was great. Thanks, Natasha, for the help.
Okay, Donald, switch. Donald, move back a little bit. Switch. Come forward. Okay, Donald in the back.
Today, if you don't mind, a scoop in the room.
Jack, just move over just a hair. Daniel, stick your head right in there. Come on.
Derek, a little tighter. Nice down and, yeah, there you go. Okay.
The table's in the frame.
1, 2, 3. Oh, I was looking.
Okay, everybody look ahead.
1, 2, 3. That should be enough.
Oh, that's much better. That's great.
All right, now
How are you doing, Brianna?
Fine, how are you?
Good.
I seen Miss what?
I say good to see you, young lady.
I seen Miss. Yeah. I'm gonna get a close up now.
Okay.
I see Miss